Welcome, Team Brain Gains, to the Mindset for Functional Athletes. No, that is not what I'm doing. Gone wrong already. Not even 7 seconds into a podcast. Welcome, Team Brain Gains, to the Mindset RX podcast. Welcome to a kind of different episode, because what I'm going to be doing right now is shutting myself up, my current self, and switching on my previous self, my past self. And what you're going to be listening to is a live stream that just 10 minutes ago I finished recording and posted was live within the Mindset for Functional Athletes group. This was kind of a semi-impromptu thing, but something I plan on doing a lot more of, just because it's a nice thing to do, to speak to people and actually converse with people. So if you're interested by this, if you enjoy this podcast, I'm sure you will. I'm pretty vulnerable in it. I talk about some pretty shit times in my life and talk about some times and how I kind of got out of them, and how you can do the same too if you want to become a better athlete and use the example and use the principles behind it. Then, if you enjoyed it, or if you get something from it, I'd recommend joining the Mindset for Functional Athletes group, because this is the type of thing that I'm going to be doing fairly frequently within that group, but maybe not so often on here. Maybe I'll give you guys something different. Maybe there's definitely an interview coming up soon with School of Calisthenics, and I'll talk to you about that. But yeah, that interview comes up soon, and a bunch of things like that. I'm not going to keep waffling too long, but I am, because I'm going to tell you one thing before we get into the podcast. I've been listening to the Adam Buxton podcast recently, and this is a quick shout out to him. And I've listened to it so much. It's like a slice of home, like stupid English humour whilst I'm in Vancouver. And I've been listening to him so much that I've started to think like he sounds in the podcast. I've started to think in his voice, which is just kind of crazy. But the one thing I really like is he calls his podcast listeners podcats. And I like that. I'd like to start calling you guys podcats, but it's been taken. It's been taken already, but you can just be Team Brain Gains, because that's what you are. So enjoy that nickname, enjoy that title, and enjoy the rest of the podcast. Like I said, I'm going to be recording this as a podcast as well. I'm going to bring up my notes so I don't get completely lost. So I actually put some preparation in this and have my first sip of caffeine. So I was planning on doing this in the joys of a mountain, but you may be able to tell from the very flat light that it is pouring with rain today. It is like pissing down, and you may be able to hear a child running above my head, but that's all cool. I'm happy with that if you're happy with that. So I was supposed to be doing this, but it's pouring down, so I thought I'd come in here and stay dry and drink coffee and kind of talk to you guys. So today's show is something like how to stop them. What's it, right? How to stop I can read on here, can't I? Brilliant. How to stop your roller coaster of motivational and emotional highs and lows. An athlete's guide to gaining control of your mental emotional state, and the big mistake too many athletes make. And the way I want this to work, guys, the rules of engagement are for you to get involved as much as possible. I want this to be a conversation. I'll be answering your questions. I'll be kind of interacting with you. I'll be making sure that you guys get actual value from this. So what I need from you is to let me know that you're watching and listening. That way I can see. What I need from you guys also is to ask questions, because otherwise I'm just a man in my kitchen talking to myself, and that is a very lonely place to be. So say hi if you're watching now. Hi Frankie, hi Dave. Oh, this is cool. I like this a lot. So let me know that you're here. Say hi and ask questions the whole time. I suppose the first place to start really is that this morning I was putting this off a bunch. This feels vulnerable as fuck to be sitting here in my kitchen speaking to you guys, even though I know you guys, and even though I like you and I trust you and I know there's going to be no kind of repercussions from speaking to you, I was still having a shower and thinking, fuck, I don't want to do this. This is terrifying. But as we've spoken about loads, we know that the only path to growth as an athlete and an individual is to go into those go into those moments of vulnerability or risk, because we have two real choices. We stay in safety or we explore the risky option. And ironically, that staying safe is in fact the riskier option for the long-term gain. So like, that's the first thing I was going to say. I was nervous as fuck. So if you can give me any pats on the back or confirmation I'm doing, just tell me I'm doing well. That's all I want. Just please tell me I'm doing well. Finn, oh, that's actually very kind of you, mate. Thank you. I could just listen to Finn every day. Anyway, Finn, like, I'm still obsessed with the fact that you rode across the Atlantic. I speak to people about that the whole time, that you decided to row across the Atlantic, fell out with one of your team crew big time, and then had to spend, was it 7 or 8 weeks with that person who refused to row and got attacked by sharks. And what's the other cool shit that happened? Anyway, that is the coolest story ever. If there's one story about embracing hardship, it's that. And you grew the coolest beard ever during that time. So before I get to the actual lesson point, I suppose I want to talk you through a story or a place in my life that was particularly like, or just a good metaphor for this place. And we have to go back, 5 years now? Maybe 6 years. Yeah, 6 years, something like that. To when, yeah, that was about right. I'd just come back from, just joined up from the Marines. I was enjoying that process, but ultimately not very good at it. Where else was I? I was completely broke as a personal trainer. That's the first thing. Like, I had no money to me whatsoever. Like, I remember driving around in Harriet's old car that I had, and not being able to afford to put fuel in it. Like, I don't think the fuel meter ever went above like an eighth of a tank. Like, I remember the minimum amounts. Like, I think it was like £2, which is like $3 or something like that. Like, just squeezing that in and like, just like, okay, £2, that's all I've got in my card. I can put £2 of 1p in of fuel in. So I was like, man, I was like broke as fuck being a personal trainer. I was living in this like horrible house share. Like, it was actually all right, but like, I was stuck in the front room where these kids used to hang out in front of us. So like, it used to be like the living room, and the kids like the cool kids used to hang out smoking weed in front of my room and just being loud and noisy. So whenever I wanted sleep, they would be there congregated. And obviously I was too scared to go out and tell them to fuck off, which I should have done. But anyway, I didn't get any sleep. I was stressed. I used to wake up because of not only the fact that I was broke, but the fact that I was just getting nowhere in life with, I don't know, just like, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, sweating, crying sometimes, but putting this brave face on it whenever I was in waking hours. Like I'd wake up, my hands would be like tingly with anxiety, and I would be in tears and I'd be sweating, and I was just like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. That was the thing. Like, when am I going to catch a break? When am I going to move forwards? And this anxiety would build into the rest of my life. So not only was I broke and not being able to move forwards, I was in like any kind of, in like my coaching and stuff like that. And I was also trying to set up a CrossFit gym at the same time, and took out a huge loan for £25,000, and then the CrossFit gym failed, which was kind of, it was a good lesson, but you know, so all of that stuff. But also as an athlete, I was not doing well. Like, I mean, I was injured to begin with. I was really injured. My back was to the point where I couldn't sit. Like, I had to lie down for, I think it was 2 days, because I really fucked my back up through not doing my mobility work, obviously. But there's a reason I wasn't doing my mobility work. What else was there? Yeah, so I didn't have the money to afford a gym membership, and driving to the gym where I worked, I couldn't afford to drive to the gym where I worked, where I wasn't paid, like when I wasn't being paid to do so. So like, that was another thing. Like, I was stressed. So I got into running, which injured me more because of my weird gait pattern, and like, it's a whole bunch of imbalances, and the fact that I was training for Marines at the same time. So I was like a broken individual. And like, I'm sure you guys can recognize to some point this state of like wanting to fix yourself but not knowing where to start, like wanting to become a better athlete, wanting to become a better version of you in all other areas of life, but you're stuck. Like you can't make forwards because your emotional highs and lows are just like destroying you. Like 1 minute you feel like, fine, okay, I've got this, I feel confident, I feel driven, and then the next minute you're just like in the fucking gutter, and it's like, man, this sucks. Like this is like that's where I was for years of my life, and I felt completely alone. This is the other thing. Harriet was like rightly moving on with her life. She's got a job in London. She was doing exceptionally well. She was doing so well, and like, who was I to stop her? But that meant that I was pretty much alone. Like I didn't have many friends then. All my friends had gone off to university and had real jobs, whereas I'd fucked off doing a ski season and started doing and went traveling for 6 months around Southeast Asia. So like I had no money at this point, like zero money, and also no friends. Like, and that was a huge thing. So I was pretty much in this battle alone. And if you can resonate with that feeling of being alone in this battle, being completely out of your depth, like feeling like you're in this, but like you don't know where to turn to help you. And whether it's as severe as mine, like as my situation, whether it's more severe, because I'm aware that what I went through was not a huge thing in the grand scale of humanity. Like Auschwitz was pretty bad compared to where I was there. Way to bring up the Holocaust straight away in the first live stream. Good work, Tom. So we had that, and like or it might be like less of it. You might just be frustrated that you're not performing as an athlete. Like you might be frustrated that you want to like be more confident on the competition floor. You want to maybe drop some pounds as an athlete. You want to nail some muscle ups. You want to like become the best version of yourself in the gym. You want to have fun, but you can't make the progress forwards. And what often happens is this big mistake that athletes make, and I'm going to get to that in just a second, but does this recognize with you? Like, do you recognize this in yourself? The fact that you want to move forwards as an athlete, and you want to move forwards as the rest of your life too, as a spouse, as a father, as a mother, as like whatever role it is, as a teacher if you're a teacher, as an accountant, like whatever it is, as a provider for your family, like whatever it is, do you want to move forwards? Because like that's what I need to know. Like, do you resonate with this? Because then we can keep on going with this. And I'm going to drink some delicious caffeine. So what this ended up in was this anxiety, this fear that I was talking about, this shitty state that I did not enjoy being in. Like, is obviously because it was making me cry in the middle of the night. I mean, I was in this house share with the landlord, and I was like, I had no idea about keeping my room clean. That's how like that's how immature I was. I didn't even keep my stuff clean. So I was in this fucking state of a room with these people I didn't really want to live with, and I felt scared and alone, yet too vulnerable to walk, or like too alone in the journey to walk forwards and ask for help from people. So I began listening to podcasts. I began attending lectures, like scraping together some money. And I probably heard a very similar kind of thing to this, which was like, you fed up with being where you are. You fed up with this like highs and lows dictating your life. And you know that your peaks and troughs of emotional state, they match your performance output, right? They, like, when you're low, you do not do the things that you want to do. And when you're high, you get everything done, and then you do the drop and then do the high. And some people have more troughs and some people have more highs, but what we really want is this middle ground where we're just like consistently moving forwards, where nothing's either too big or too small to kind of get over, and we move forwards. Like, I'm really lucky enough to say that's my state now. Like, that's where I am now, is like this place where I can just, like, even if shit happens, like when my granny died, for example, I didn't expect to bring this up. When my granny died in January this year, actually on my birthday, on January the 1st this year, it hit me pretty hard. It really stung, obviously, because she was 101 years old and she was my mum's mum, and I'd grown up like in her farmhouse and loving life with her, and it was just brilliant. And she was such a wonderful lady. But when she died, it was a shock to us, kind of. Like, she's been dying for, well, since she was born, technically, but been dying for like a while, but I didn't expect it to, I expected it to hit me for 6. And I know these kind of things do hit people for 6. And what I expected is for my training to go down the pan for a couple of weeks, for my mental, emotional state to be like really low again for a couple of weeks. And what really happened is not that I didn't feel it, but that I felt it and was able to keep on moving forwards because, well, I knew that that's what she'd have wanted anyway, but also that, like, there's no point bringing myself down over something like that and letting everything else slide. Like, I still felt the emotion. I'm not this kind of like blocked off thing where I don't feel emotion now I've been doing mindset work. I still feel it. I'm still able to be happy. I'm still able to be sad, but like, I was able to move forwards. And that's what I suppose that we all really want, right? Is that ability to, when shit happens, when, like, I spoke to someone who became redundant the other day, and like, he was in a bad place. Like, he couldn't move forwards because he was scrabbling to stay afloat. Like, instead of actually like swimming for land and a better life, he was just like desperately flailing to stay afloat. Who else I've spoken to? I did make some notes, but I'm going completely off on a tangent already, as I want to do. But like, before I get to that, like, the important thing is this: the big mistake that athletes make is they let their external situation completely dictate their internal state, which means they can't influence their external situation and make progress again. They feel these highs and lows and these troughs and peaks, and they can't get out that. So they have no control over their mental emotional state. And because of this, they can't move forwards as an athlete and all these other areas of life that we're talking about. Like, guys, if you are to move forwards, you've got to get not a grip, because that sounds like you've got to force yourself into it, but you've got to get control over this. You've got to realize that you can make this move forward. You've got to understand that you are ultimately in control of your mental emotional state. And it's kind of like, I suppose it's gratifying to think that, okay, yeah, I'm just a product of my external environment, that like, things have influence on me and I can't change the way I feel because I'm stuck this way and it's my genetics and it's my background. Well, I'm telling you, like, you have control over that state, and you have control over whether you move forwards as an athlete or whether you move forwards in the rest of your life too. And it starts like this is the mistake in a nutshell. The mistake athletes make is they try and change their external environment in order to change their internal state. And this does not work. How many years have you been trying to change the external environment to become a better athlete in order to feel better, to not be broke anymore in order to feel better, to progress in your career in order to not feel better? You get the idea. To fix the things in your relationship in order to feel happier and more fulfilled and more content. Well, I'm telling you that doesn't start externally, and it's such a cliche. I can't believe I'm saying this. It doesn't start externally. It starts within. And until you change that internal state, until you change the narrative that is producing this, until you change that subconscious state, you will not change the outcome. Like, you can force and force and force and force, but until you change what's happening in here, like in this mental emotional state, in this subjective place, you will not change the outcome. My mentor, Brian Grasso, and by the way, does that resonate with you? Do you feel yourself in that? And even if you're watching this in the rerun, do you resonate with this? Do you feel like you're trying to change the external situation, like you're trying to perform better in WODs and you're forcing this change instead of working on your mindset using the foundational 4? Because that's what changed me. Like, that's what changed me, beginning the foundational 4. They weren't the foundational 4 right then. They were like weird hodgepodge of like bits and pieces that I put together, and they were little individual bits of like knowledge that I started working on because I saw there was a better option. But like through listening to podcasts and stuff, I picked up on this idea, like, okay, journaling. I didn't know what I was doing to begin with. Like, luckily you guys have the foundational 4. Like, I've spoken to you. You Team Brain Gains have the foundational 4 available to you. But you've got to execute it. Like, you've got to execute it. Like, where I was going back then, my mentor, Brian Grasso, like, brilliant, beautiful man in every kind of way. Which sounds a lot like I fancy him, and I suppose it is a bit of a man crush. And hopefully he watches this at some point, just so he knows that. But he has this quote, I think he wrote it in one of his first books, which was, success isn't about finding new ways to become successful. It's about releasing yourself from the reasons that you haven't become successful so far. And I guarantee the reason you haven't become successful so far is because your mental emotional state is full of highs and lows, and that you have no control over it. Okay? How often do you find something happening in your external life and your mood is completely dictated by it? And this is like, I came to Stoicism first because it basically said, like, keep a kind of solid state. And it was great because it told you that, like, this is what you're aiming for, but there's no real way to get there. There's no, like, okay, do this. There's no practical elements. It was like, just, okay, this is what you want to achieve, but there's no, like, okay, these are the journaling exercises to get you there. This is what you must practice. You must embrace hardship. You must observe your inner athlete. You must aim up on a consistent basis, and you must do your AMWAP. But there's none of that, because those are the tools that move you forwards, and those have progressed through different areas coming together. And that, guys, is what you have to practice. That really is, because I guarantee you're doing this. Like, not only was there that athlete that I spoke to who couldn't move forwards because he'd been made redundant and was just scrambling to stay afloat instead of, like, actively aiming up and moving forwards. Like, who else did I speak to this week? The amount of people I spoke to in the last couple of weeks about tribal clash. And if you don't know what tribal clash is invented, I think it was originally in Cornwall, but now they've expanded out all over the world. And the most recent one was in Portugal. And the amount of body image issues that I spoke to athletes about, like, I'm not going to wear a bikini because I feel like I've got rolls on my stomach. I don't feel confident because I'm skinny and these jacked guys next to me. Like, the amount of athletes that I spoke to about that, and I completely get it. They're having the internal narrative, their mental emotional state, and ultimately their self-worth and self-belief completely dictated by their external situation. And you guys need to get control on you. So I'm going to take a break there, just a quick one, and say, who has questions? And, like, these questions, they take a few minutes to load up. And I can see, like, thank you for all your comments. And I haven't said hi to everyone because, honestly, I can't see them. Let's see if I can see any questions from people. Come on, where are you? There's 16 comments, but I can see all but 4 of them. Where are we? Can't. I'll try and make this work for you guys. So, who has questions about this? I have no idea how to make this work, but I'm in some point. Here we go. I can just about make it work. Cool. So, I'll just give some shout outs. I know I've given you too much love already, but I really enjoy your semi-sarcastic and flirtatious comments. Dave, I haven't properly interacted with that video you posted up in Mindset for Functional Athletes yet, but I shall get there. Afternoon or morning to you too, sir. Alyssa, hello. You're quickly becoming a prominent figure in Team Brain Gains. I love that. Frankie, cool. I can't see half your comment because I can't make the screen big enough. Cool. Alvin, hello. Finn, Alyssa, Jace. Coach Jace is in the house. Excellent stuff. Becky, watch this when you get a chance. Christine, another prominent member of Team Brain Gains. DMG athlete herself. Excellent stuff. Cool. So, what I'm saying is this. Athletic success and success as a whole do not start with changing your external situations. They start with changing your internal state, your subjective experience, your thought, your success. So, change your external state. That's what I'm saying. And that is basically what we do in life for enough time now. I've been rambling for plenty of time. So if you have any last minute questions, let me know. If you have any further questions, I'm going to start doing this more. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy it. So this is what I'm going to wrap up with. If this resonated, success, and more to the point, your mindset, your internal state, in order to do that, to become not you, to just feel more fulfilled, and therefore excel about whether you'd like to join the Digital Mindset Gym. Like, we speak about this hint of interest there, even if you just like to find a bit more interest, or or maybe you'd like to the Digital Mindset Gym, shoot me a message and we can have a conversation about it. We can like maybe even want you guys in there because we know it's going to help you. So at some point I'll do like a version 2. So get in there soon if you like before version 2 gets released, because then you're all scheme. But anyway, that's me getting ranty. If there's anything that myself, Laura, the wonderful Laura, Coach Jason and Coach Ray on Audacity on the podcast equipment. Whoa, 22 minutes of me rambling. God, what a self-obsessed bastard I am. So I'm going to stop recording. That was, as you can tell, a rather abrupt ending. So I'll give you a proper farewell of just me saying goodbye. Until next time, until next week, keep on crushing training. Get in the Mindset for Functional Athletes group because it's awesome. And I'll speak to you all very soon.